8 months, 15,000 kilometers, 23 national and provincial parks, 10 Aurora windows, one vehicle, one camera, and a plan that has taken years to build. This is the west route of the True North expedition. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly where I'm going, what it takes to get a camera into some of the most protected wilderness in Canada, and what the park system actually requires from you before you're allowed to photograph it. Let's go. Section 1. Why the West first? The expedition runs in 2 seasons. Season 1 is the West. March 1st to October 31st, 2027. 8 months, Kingston, Ontario to Yukon border and back. Season 2 is the East. That's a separate video. April to October 2028. We'll get to that after Season 1 concludes. The reason I'm doing the West first comes down to one specific date, March 20th, 2027, the spring equinox. There is a phenomenon called the Russell-McLaren effect. Without going deep into physics, because honestly, I just fucking can't. I don't know the physics that good. What it means practically or basically is that the spring and fall equinoxes produce the 2 highest probability aurora windows of the entire year at mid-latitudes. If I leave March 1st, I arrive at Algonquin Park with 19 days to get positioned before the single most statistically reliable aurora night of 2027. It's not a coincidence in the planning. That's the entire reason the expedition starts when it does. If I leave April 1st instead, which I was originally planning, I would have missed that window entirely, and that's something I would not have been able to get back. First month is Ontario, and Ontario in March is a different world than Ontario in the summer. The drive goes north from Kingston to Barrie, then Georgian Bay, Collingwood, Craigleith, Penetanguishene, Midland. The Great Lakes in late winter are dramatic in a way that no summer image captures. Pressure ice on Georgian Bay, shore ice still holding on Kempenfelt Bay, light that sits at 20 degrees above horizon all day and does things to snow and frozen water that you can't manufacture in any other season. From here, the route goes to Muskoka, Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, Huntsville, and then east to Haliburton. Haliburton's 4 days and entirely about 2 things, owls and wolves. The Haliburton Highlands in March has one of the most reliable owl corridors in Ontario for great horned and barred owls, with the possibility of great gray owls in eruption years. Dawn and dusk drives on Kinesis Lake Road with the 100 to 500 mil lens from inside the vehicle, engine off, windows down, and a ton of fucking patience. And the Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve has a wolf center, one of the only places in Canada where you can photograph eastern wolves in a naturalistic setting, enclosure setting. It's not a zoo, it's a forested enclosure large enough that the wolves use it the way they would use a normal territory out in the woods. I'm shooting the 100 to 500, probably with the 1.4 times extender from close to the fence line at f7.1. At that aperture and focal length, the fence should dissolve completely. That's the hopes in the background blur. And what I will get is a wildlife portrait that looks absolutely phenomenal if all goes to plan. Then Algonquin and the first aurora window. Before I go further in the route, let's talk permits, because this is a question I'm sure will cross most of your minds when you watch this video, or if you're thinking about doing a trip or expedition, or even just a weekend or whatever it is. In Canada, there's 2 separate park systems, and they work differently. Federal parks, the ones with national park in the name, are administered by Parks Canada. Banff, Jasper, Pacific Rim, Pawcasqua, Riding Mountain, Prince Albert, Yoho, Kootenay, Glacier, Revelstoke, Waterton, Guahanas. These are crown land managed by the federal government. I apologize if I didn't pronounce the name right. Provincial parks, I will learn these by the time the expedition kicks off. Provincial parks, Ontario parks, BC parks, Alberta parks are managed by individual provinces. Algonquin, Killarney, Garibaldi, Stone Mountain, Muncho or Muncho Lake. Different rules, different booking systems, different permit requirements. Here's what you actually need as a photographer in each system. Excuse me. For personal photography in federal national parks, no permit is required. I want to be clear because there's a lot of confusion online. I know it was confusing for me at first and took a lot of diving into it to figure it out, or at least I hope I have figured it out. I believe I have. So if you are an individual photographer shooting for personal use, editorial use, or documentary purposes, you do not need a photography permit in Canadian national parks. You need a park entry pass. The Discovery Pass covers all Parks Canada locations for 1 year and costs approximately $145 Canadian for an individual. And you need to follow the same wildlife, distance, and trail regulations as any other visitor. The permit requirements kick in under specific conditions. Commercial photography, where you are being paid by a third party to photograph within the park. Photography that requires exclusive access to a location, meaning you want to close down the trail or a section of the park to other visitors. Photography that requires equipment beyond standard tripod, like large lighting setups, generators, production vehicles inside the park boundary. And photography in restricted or backcountry zones that already require a backcountry permit. For this expedition, one photographer, 1 or 2 tripods, documentary purposes, a Discovery Pass covers me at every federal park en route. Can't talk. Provincial parks work similarly, but book through separate systems. Ontario Parks, ontarioparks.com. Camping reservations open January 6th for the following season, and popular sites fill within hours. January 6th is my oldest son's birthday. Mew Lake Campground in Algonquin, which I need for the Equinox Aurora window, requires booking the moment reservations open, which means I'm going to be up early and on my laptop at 7 a.m. on January 6, 2027, and that's 7 a.m. Eastern time for that one. BC Parks, bcparks.ca. Garibaldi Provincial Park backcountry reservations are extremely competitive. They open April 1st for the season, and the Garibaldi Lake and Elfin Lake camps sell out within minutes. I'll be on my computer at 7 a.m. Pacific time, which on the Eastern time zone, that actually buys me some time because that means 10 a.m. Eastern time for me. I'll be on my laptop exactly at that time, April 1st, 2027. Excuse me. Parks Canada campsite reservations. Reservation.pc.gc.ca. Same urgency. Tunnel Mountain in Banff, Whistlers in Jasper, Greenpoint and Pacific Rim, Lake Louise Campground. All of these require booking 3 to 4 months ahead of time at minimum, especially during peak season. The one permit that is genuinely required and genuinely difficult to get, Lake O'Hara and Yoho National Park. Lake O'Hara is widely considered one of the most beautiful alpine locations in Canada, and Parks Canada strictly limits daily access to protect the ecosystem. There's only 42 quota day use hiking spaces available each day throughout July and August. These are allocated by a telephone lottery that opens in April. You call a specific number at a specific time, and if you're lucky, you get in. So I'm entering the lottery. Hopefully I get in. If not, well, I don't get it. That's just the reality of planning one of these expeditions. The permit that requires a licensed operator. Several of the most significant wildlife photography opportunities on the West Route are only accessible through licensed guide operators. This is not a photography-specific regulation. This applies to all visitors. Tofino Black Bear Beach Photography. You can't approach bears on Tofino Estuary beaches independently. You go with a licensed bear guide. I'm planning on using Tofino Wildside Tours, and the guide determines the approach distance, duration, based all on the bear's behavior. This both safety requirement and a conservation regulation. Grizzly bear photography in the Smithers area during the August salmon run. License guide required for close river access and for similar reasons as above. Oh, man. Kutsumatine Grizzly Bear Sanctuary in September. Sorry, I'll try to get the phonetical spelling for that. This is Canada's only sanctuary specifically designated for grizzly bear protection. Access is by boat only through a licensed operator out of Prince Rupert. It is one of the highest density grizzly habitats in Canada, and the only way to photograph it legally is through an approved operator. Guayhanas National Park Reserve and Haida Heritage Site. I hope I pronounced those right. Specifically, Skungwai, the UNESCO World Heritage Site with the mortuary poles. This requires advanced permit application to Parks Canada and mandatory accompaniment. Sorry, those big words get me apparently. By a Haida Watchman guide. You do not walk on Skungwai independently. The Haida Watchmen are the guardians of this site, and their presence is required not as a tourism formality, but as a condition of access to a living cultural site. I will be asking permission before I even lift my camera up to shoot. By May, we're in Manitoba, and the character of the photography changes completely. Most people think of the prairies as a photography challenge. I'm going to try to approach it differently. Flat, featureless, hard to make interesting is the impression most people have. Those people haven't stood in the Riding Mountain National Park at midnight with a KP4 aurora filling the entire northern sky from horizon to horizon with nothing blocking it. And that is my hopes. The prairies are the best aurora landscape in Canada below 60 degrees north. The horizon is unobstructed in every direction. There is no tree line cutting off the northern sky. The aurora doesn't just appear to the north, it appears everywhere. The whole sky is available to you in a way that no forested location can match. And yes, I keep all my errors in. I've started cutting at the end of each section, like section 4, so I'll cut it at the end. Section 4 before I start section 5, just so I can try to display chapters in the video when I put it in the description in YouTube, so you guys can skip ahead or back or whatever easier. So yeah, I'm trying a new thing today, so bear with me. The prairies are the best aurora landscape. The Riding Mountain is also where the only free-roaming bison herd east of the Rockies lives. Lake Audie, a managed range within the park where you photograph from your vehicle as the herd moves around you. It's so amazing. I'm just so looking forward to that, getting something right up close. And that image, a bison bull in the foreground with the Manitoba sky behind it, is not an image most Canadians know exists within a day's drive of Toronto. From Riding Mountain, the route goes south and west through Regina. Major resupply there. Definitely got to stock up on everything. And then north again to Prince Albert National Park in Saskatchewan for the Grey Owl canoe route. Sorry about that. Grey Owl's cabin at Ajawan Lake is 20 kilometers by canoe from the nearest road. It requires a 2-day backcountry canoe permit through Parks Canada. I will be hiring somebody to come with me on that canoe ride, hopefully so I can photograph. Well, I will help paddle, but at times have my camera out so I can just focus on photography while somebody else paddles for me. Almost no professional photographer has reached that cabin with current equipment because of the access requirement. The image of Grey Owl's cabin at Ajawan Lake at dawn, the man who started Canada's conservation movement, is one of the priority shots of the entire expedition. Then south to Grasslands National Park, one of the darkest locations in Canada east of the Rockies. Primitive camping, no electrical hookups anywhere within reach at this destination. I pre-charge all 8 batteries at the Val Marie gas station before every dark sky session. I'm planning on having at least 8 batteries, possibly 10 or 12. In June, the Milky Way core and the aurora can appear in the same frame from the same position. That is the shot I am going for. June is the Rockies, and I know the Rockies are the most photographed location probably in Canada, and for good reason. And they're also the most logistically demanding to photograph in a way that produces something specific rather than just that same generic shot that you see most people go for. Banff National Park, 9 days. The Bow Valley Parkway at 7 a.m. for grizzly, black bear, elk, and bighorn sheep. The corridor between Banff and Lake Louise is one of the most reliably productive wildlife photography roads in Canada. But you need to be on it before the tourist traffic builds, for sure. I'll be in position where I want to take my pictures from. I'll be there by 5:30 a.m. 5:30. I will definitely be there. Maybe even a little earlier just to be sure. Moraine Lake, I need to arrive similar, 4:30 in the morning. The Parks Canada shuttle starts at 8 a.m. and after that the lake is crowded for the rest of the day. The image I want, Moraine Lake with no other people, mirror reflection, Victoria Glacier in there, exists for maybe 90 minutes at dawn before the first shuttle bus arrives with all the tourists on it. Lake O'Hara, if the lottery works, Takuka Falls in Yoho with the ND10 filter and the 70 to 200 mil lens. The Icelands Parkway driven slowly. 2 full days to drive that stretch, stopping at every pull-off because the parkway itself is the location. And then Jasper, Canada's only designated dark sky preserve among national parks. Aurora Window opens June 27. Pyramid Lake, North Shore, unobstructed mountain horizon. The image of the Rocky Mountain skyline silhouetted against a curtain of aurora green. Not a lot of people get that shot. The June nights are short. Astronomical darkness runs roughly between 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. But 4 aurora watch nights gives me enough time and enough attempts to hopefully get that shot I'm looking for. On the Rockies, permits specifically. Discovery Pass covers entry to all 4 Rocky Mountain National Parks. Banff, Jasper, Yoho, Kootenay, 1 pass. Tunnel Mountain Village Campground in Banff, book 4 months ahead minimum. It fills by March for June. Same for Whistler's in Jasper and Lake Louise Campground. If you're planning a photography trip to the Rockies for summer and you haven't booked your campsite yet, check reservation.pc.gc.ca today. Not tomorrow, today. The Athabasca Glacier surface walk at the Columbia Icefields requires a Parks Canada permit that is purchased on site. You cannot pre-book this. You have to book it as you go there with a licensed guide only. No self-guided glacier access is allowed, period. July is BC, or British Columbia, for those of you not familiar with Canadian provinces, and it's going to be remote. This section, genuinely remote. From Jasper, the route crosses back into BC at Lake Louise. Lake Louise, I've been there when I was like 12. It is fucking gorgeous. I love it. Lake Louise and heads west through Yoho, Kootenay, and Revelstoke. Mount Revelstoke National Park in July has the most extraordinary alpine wildflower meadows in Canada. The summit road goes from sea level to 1,900 meters in 26 kilometers, and the meadows at the top in mid-July are absolute peak bloom. That's a free road with no permit beyond the Discovery Pass. Glacier National Park at Rogers Pass is one of the most underrated national parks in Canada. I'm dying to go there so I can see for myself. The Bear Creek Trail gives direct access to the Silhouette Glacier. Again, Discovery Pass, no additional permit. Then the Okanagan Valley, Canada's only true desert. Yes, Canada does have a desert. Vassaux Lake with the bighorn sheep on the canyon walls. And then the canyon of the Fraser River. Hell's Gate in July during the Chinook salmon run, where 34 million fish pushed through a 33-meter wide gorge and into Vancouver. From Vancouver, the BC ferry to Vancouver Island, 14 days. Victoria, Port Renfrew's Avatar Grove, 800-year-old Douglas fir old growth, and then Pacific Rim National Park Reserve. Pacific Rim, Long Beach, gray whales. Let me see if that visor helps. No, didn't really do anything. All right, we'll just put it back. Sorry about the sun glare on my face. The gray whale photography is from a licensed Zodiac operator only. The whales are in the waters of Pacific Rim National Park, and approaching them independently by any vessel is illegal under the marine mammal regulations. The licensed operators know the whale behavior. They position the vehicle correctly relative to the animals, or the vessel, I guess, since it's on water, and they work within the 100-meter minimum approach distance that shifts based on the whale's behavior. I plan on going with Tofino Wildside Tours, the Rainforest Trail, Old Growth Cedar, August starts in Garibaldi Provincial Park, 8 days. Garibaldi Lake is a 9.5 kilometer uphill hike with 820 meters of elevation gain. I am carrying the full Canon kit, 2 camera bodies, 3 lenses, possibly more, the extender, 1 or 2 tripods, 8 batteries on my back. Plus, I'll have my emergency kit with me, which is an additional 2.5 to 3 kilograms. Yeah, and so it's gonna earn. I'm gonna earn my way on that hike for sure. Um, the Garibaldi Lake Backcountry permit is through BC Parks, bcparks.ca. It is a lottery-style competitive booking that opens April 1st. If you want a permit, you're online by 7 a.m. Pacific on April 1st, or you're simply not going. No chance. From Garibaldi, the route goes north through the Sea to Sky corridor, Squamish, Whistler, Joffrey Lakes, then through the Fraser Canyon to Prince George for the last major van service before the most remote section of the entire expedition. And then after Prince George, Tweedsmuir Provincial Park, the largest provincial park in BC, then Smithers and Bulkley River for grizzly bear salmon fishing in late August. This is a license guide requirement again. I plan on booking through Smithers Visitor Center, 1-800-542-6673 is the number. 3 to 4 months in advance because the best guides fill up early, fill up for the salmon season real early, like by May, they're filled up. Then the Cassiar Highway, 720 kilometers of gravel 2-lane road. Stone Mountain Provincial Park at 58 degrees north. Muncho Lake, turquoise water caused by copper oxide in the lake bed, a color that doesn't exist in southern parks. The Aurora Window at Muncho Lake opens August 22nd. At latitude 59 degrees north, a KP of 1 produces visible aurora. So I'm charging the batteries at Muncho Lake Lodge before every dark sky session because there are no electrical hookups at Strawberry Flats Campground, and the nearest town with reliable power is Fort Nelson, which I believe is 2 hours south. I'll have to verify that. Then Watson Lake, the Yukon border, the northernmost point of the expedition. I covered Watson Lake in detail in the Aurora ranking video, my 1 to 10, in the most difficult in my opinion. It's a priority window of the entire expedition. The signpost forest at 60 degrees north during the fall equinox window with the aurora overhead is one of the defining images of the true north. September brings the return east. Watson Lake to Telegraph Creek on the Stikine River, Stikine, then south to the Kutsumateen, the licensed boat operator out of Prince Rupert, then the ferry to Haida Gwaii National Park Reserve, the Haida Heritage Site, Skungwai. Gwaii requires a specific permit process. You submit an advance reservation through Parks Canada's Gwaii permit system for the number of days and campsites you need. You attend a mandatory orientation session at the Queen Charlotte Visitor Center before you even enter the park. This is not optional, and the park gates do not open without proof of orientation. So make sure you do this just out of respect at the least. And for Skungwai, specifically, you coordinate access through the Haida Watchman program, which assigns a watchman guide to accompany your visit. And this is required. It's mandatory. There is no other option. I will ask permission before I point my camera at anything at Skungwai. That is not a policy requirement. It's, like I said, basic respect for a site where people are still buried. Show the respect for a burial site. October is the return east, Drumheller and the Badlands of Alberta, then Manitoba, Lake Superior for the second aurora window in October, and Algonquin for the final aurora of the season 1 during the Moose Rut. The October Algonquin window is the last aurora of an 8-month expedition. It's the same Lake Mew Lake where the first aurora of the expedition happened in March. So it'll be like, yeah, it'll be something. can't wait to experience that moment because I can't even think of what I want to say. The same park, different season, different light, moose and rat moving through the shoreline at night while the aurora builds overhead. Imagine a nice moose silhouettes in a shot, in the frame of the shot, with the aurora overhead and maybe some trees as well in the foreground. Oh, to me, I'd love to get that. If that image comes together, the bull moose, the autumn color of the aurora, it is the closing image of season 1, October 31st, Kingston, home. That's 15,000 kilometers, 8 months, 23 parks, permit systems, booking windows, lottery applications, guide requirements, and backcountry regulations, safety kits, safety precautions, etc. I'm going to be honest, the logistics of doing this legally and doing it right are actually, to me, more demanding than the photography itself. I wrote are as demanding, but to me personally, this sort of shit is not my forte. I can do photography decent. I'm a good photographer. I'm kind of like, I don't know how to judge myself because photography is art, and art is very, everybody has their own taste and their own opinion. So I respect those who are into my photos and those who aren't, because it's just personal taste, and I don't take offense or it personally. People who love it or hate it, either way. Now I lost where I was. The license guides are not... the Discovery Pass covers the federal parks. The provincial booking systems require patience and an alarm set for exactly the right morning. The license guides are not optional for wildlife photography that matters most. And that's correct, because the animals deserve that protection, whether it's convenient for me or us as photographers or not. What I can tell you is that Canada has built a park system that genuinely protects what it protects. The Kutsi-Mateen exists as a sanctuary because there's rules around it. Skungwai still has its poles because the Haida watchmen are there. Gray Owl's cabin at Ajawan Lake still sits the way he left it because 20 kilometers of paddling is the only way in. The permit requirements are the point. If you want to follow this expedition as it happens, the planning, the prep, the eventual road, subscribe here and come find me on Patreon. The monthly location scouting notes and the GPS coordinates I'm actually planning to use there for Trail Companion members. Link is in the description. Next Tuesday or Wednesday, by September 1st, it'll be every Tuesday morning you'll see my videos. Patreon will get it on the Sunday for my paid members. But every Tuesday by September 1st in the morning. The rest of August, I'm planning on Tuesday at some point or early Wednesday mornings. Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I look forward to keeping you guys updated. All the good, the bad, the ugly. You're going to hear it all. And hopefully my car gets fixed soon. Peace.